Okay, we started.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Hello there.
You talking to me?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Say hello to my little friend!
I have had it with these snakes on this plane!
I am Iron Man.
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the box?
Here's Johnny.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
You are now listening to Post Credits with your hosts, Caleb Lingle-Macias and Nate Perkins. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Post Credits with Caleb and Nate.
Post Credits, if you didn't realize what the name was so far.
What's going on?
Yeah, so we got some cool stuff on today's episode for everybody out there listening. I saw BlacKkKlansman for the first time last Friday.
I saw it over the summer, but you can bet I saw it again.
It's leave it to Caleb to see. It's never out of the question to see a movie twice.
No.
But yeah, so we got that review coming up, and then we also have we're gonna try to review Incredibles 2, that was the summer movie we forgot last week. I'm pretty positive.
We weren't able to cover that one.
Yeah, so we'll get that going. And if we have some time, we're gonna break down some new trailers that have been released. Both are Marvel movie trailers, of course. I'm always gonna find an excuse to talk about Marvel movies. But so Caleb, shall we get started on BlacKkKlansman?
Let's get her
Spike
going.
Lee's new joint.
A new Spike Lee joint. Yeah. Well, I'll just give a little background then on the basic premise of the movie. It's meant to be a biopic of a man named Ron Stallworth, who was a police officer in Colorado Springs in the 70s, right? It takes place in the 70s?
Yeah, that sounds... It looks like it takes place in the 70s.
It's got that
70s
funky
aesthetic.
That funky soul vibe, But yeah, so he was basically the first black man on the police force in Colorado Springs. And what he essentially did was he infiltrated the Colorado Springs chapter of the KKK and effectively stopped what amounts to, I guess you could call, like a terrorist attack from a few specific members within the KKK who were trying to basically kill. Was it the Black Student Union?
Yeah. So there was it which university was it in Colorado?
Colorado College, or I can't remember. I think it was just I don't know.
Yeah, but there was like that Black Student Union group in college. In their college group, and yeah, that's who the KKK of Colorado Springs was targeting. All right, I got it pulled up on.
Yeah, they were targeting the president of the Black Student Union.
So it's like I said, it's Spike Lee's new movie, pretty influential, famous director,
and this is pretty high profile for being one of his better films in recent years.
You'd say that?
I would say that, and I think that a lot of people would agree.
Yeah. I haven't really seen many Spike Lee movies before this.
Oh, well, yeah.
And what other ones have you seen?
I've seen Old Boy. There's one with Edward Norton that I cannot remember the name. And then Do the Right Thing. And I'd say that between this and Do the Right Thing, which was released in the 80s, yeah. Uh-huh. It's been a while, but those are definitely his best ones of the ones that I've seen. But, I don't know. What are your thoughts since you saw it for your first time this weekend?
Well, it's obviously a very political movie, so sorry people who hate talking politics, but we're probably going to get into a little bit of that. You cannot just not talk about politics when talking about this movie.
No, it's impossible.
I thought it was really good, and I guess we had a discussion after the movie because we kind of didn't necessarily agree on certain choices made in the movie, but I think you kind of convinced me in some places that why this movie is relevant today, and the struggle between two polarized groups in the movie being the KKK and the Black Student Unity. And like today, you know, there's in our political scene, there's a lot of polarization too.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to get into spoilers at all? I think it would.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do that. So
make it a little easier.
Yeah, this is our effective spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert, people.
Turn us off if you don't want to. all 3 people listening.
Yeah.
Turn us off if you don't want to hear spoilers for this movie. But yeah, I mean, it's a well done film. What's the name? John Washington. I can't remember his middle name.
I think it's said right there.
The cast should be down here.
Yeah.
John David Washington.
Denzel Washington's son, apparently. Which
is it?
I didn't realize that. I only realized
We're looking this up.
I only realized that recently.
See full biography. We're checking his IMDb. So, yep, son of Denzel Washington.
Yep. And
okay.
I didn't know this until after I saw the movie, and so I think
Me neither.
I think that's good to know that, because otherwise you might be stuck in a mindset like a lot of actors' kids. They get into acting just because they can, and they're not always great at it. You know, like think Jaden Smith or something.
Definitely.
And you know, that's a classic example, I would say. But yeah, I think he did a really good job in this. First of all, talk about the acting.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Driver basically plays one of the other the bigger roles, I would say. A lot of the actors weren't too familiar, which Alec Baldwin is in it. I forgot that.
Yeah, he kind of is like, it's like almost like a large cameo at the beginning of the movie.
I mean, it kind of made sense to put it at the beginning. But,
set the tone of the.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the actors, they aren't too well known, save Adam Driver for sure. But I think they all did a pretty exceptional job. It must have. Let me just say that Corey Hawkins, who played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton, I think it. I don't know. I feel like being one of the white actors to play like the KKK members, or being like Adam Driver or any of them, like.
Mm-hmm.
That could not have been an easy job, you know what I mean? I mean, I'll just suffice to say there's a lot of N-bombs.
Oh, definitely.
That are dropped.
Well, yeah,
when
when you have a movie that's half about, and that's another thing I appreciate about this movie. Not appreciate, but obviously the KKK are the villains in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think most of us would agree that they're villains in real life too. But it does kind of delve into, okay, why are they here? They're not just evil for the sake of being evil. You know?
Yeah, like it's not.
I mean, there are some members in the group that like, holy poop, excuse my French. They are evil, and we can maybe talk about that later.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, any sign of good like antagonism is like knowing motivation, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
And they did that well.
Yeah,
in this
and
movie.
that's the thing is they don't save maybe like 1 or 2 KKK like characters. They're not
fumbling dumbasses.
Yeah, like Ivanhoe or whatever. He's literally just like
Drunk all the time.
Drunkard moron. But
yeah.
I think it's good, just as a principle in general, to never portray your villains as just evil for the sake of being evil, and to always like explain their motivation, even if the motivation itself seems like terrible and evil. Like, never just make it seem like you're just trying to paint them as just like inherently bad, I guess you could say. I mean, obviously the KKK, a lot of people would say they are, but you know, I thought it did a pretty good job with that. How it's not just, that's pretty much how I see that. But
and then on the flip side, you have multiple perspectives about the Black Student Unity as well. You have what the Colorado Springs police think of the Black Student Unity, and what they think of themselves, because you literally, not union, unity.
No, union. It's union.
It is union?
Yeah.
Why did I think it's unity?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever. But what they think of themselves, because you literally sit through a meeting, and is that Corey Hawkins' character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kwame
Ture.
Kwame Ture. And so you literally you get inside their minds, you see what they're thinking, the police thinks, and then what the KKK thinks about them too, which is bad.
Yeah.
And that's the main conflict of the movie.
Mm-hmm. And there's one scene that actually portrays this really well, is the scene where they're juxtaposing I can't remember what his name is. It's like I think he was a civil rights leader several decades ago, but he's like talking to the student union about like this injustice. And I can't remember what the injustice is either, but like this injustice that happened.
This is why we need a research guy on the show. This is why we need Cole back.
We need
our guy.
our
Hey
IT
Cole,
guy.
Yeah, do some research real quick. Look up about the facts about the movie. But yeah.
But it's this guy who was falsely accused, a black man who was falsely accused of raping and killing a white woman, I think, and he was pretty much convicted, like with the snap of a finger, like almost instantly. No one really even gave it a second thought, and he was like dragged out into the street and like
brutally
tortured and like brutally killed by this mob of people. And I mean, it's a pretty horrific scene, and at the same time, Spike Lee he's juxtaposing like a KKK inauguration of like certain members or whatever. David Duke himself, played by Topher Grace, which is funny, I think. But
yeah, he did a good job.
He did.
He's not. I don't think either of us are going to say that Topher Grace is a strong actor.
He wasn't especially Eric Foreman-y, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But
and if you've seen David Duke in like videos in real life, he's like a good for the role. It's like, yeah, that's about right, Topher Grace.
Yeah, but like there's like inauguration or whatever, and near the end of it, they're watching a birth of a nation and like cheering it on as like when the Klansmen come out in that movie or whatever, and then it juxtaposing them yelling white power and the black student union yelling black power, and kind of showing that like what the difference is between them, where white power is literally just, it's a symbol of oppression. I mean, the KKK has had pretty strong influence in American history, I would say.
Yeah.
And whereas black power is more, it is a symbol of unity and like trying to combat that oppression,
Definitely. So I guess that kind of moves into like the editing and more like technical aspects of the movie. It was like pacing, editing, and other things. Yeah, it was all pretty.
I thought it was pretty superbly edited.
Yeah, definitely. Especially that scene, like that prominent scene.
I really liked the style. I think the style in general that just of the film was pretty impressive. It was pretty, I guess what you would expect from a Spike Lee joint,
Spike Lee joint. I mean, I had no expectations really, but that's what you'd expect is kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, he's very stylish director. When he makes good movies, at least.
When he makes, don't talk about Old Boy. Bro.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna go there. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of like specific instances of like, just like the whole thing has like a certain flair to it. You know what I mean?
It's like, there's some movies where they take place in the past. You don't really believe that you're there. I believed I was in the 70s when I was watching the movie.
And I think it's easy for me to forget this because I'm not usually a big fan of biopics. This is a biopic.
Yeah, Caleb, this is a biopic.
This is a biopic, and I really like this film. So there's that. But a lot of biopics, they're very kind of sterile, and they just kind of show the life of some guy or the life of some person. And this was not quite the same. I mean, it was very cinematic in a lot of different aspects, so to speak, I guess. So I appreciate that. I appreciate when biopics do that. Me going on a biopic rant real quick, I guess.
All right, the next 40 minutes, Caleb is going to talk about why he does not like biopics.
Start with The Darkest Hour.
Which we haven't seen.
But
yet.
I'll complain about anyway.
But, so obviously I think, should we talk about some more political aspects of the movie?
I think it's worth talking about the end just because we talked about it and because it's a pretty important part of the film.
All right. So do you want to talk about like the actual end of the film or like the kind of tacked on? So I think a big part of this movie is kind of like you said, juxtaposing two situations together.
Yeah, and showing the contrast between them.
So Spike Lee decides to juxtapose this true story that happened and his depiction of it, and like the current political climate in America, specifically was that West Virginia or Virginia riots?
Charlottesville,
South Carolina.
Charlottesville, right?
Charlottesville, is that West Virginia?
I
can Google it.
We have the Google.
Charlottesville. Oh, it's Virginia.
Yeah. Okay.
Where the woman was killed by a car.
So there were riots or whatever where a group of white nationalists were
Unite the Right rally.
Yeah, Unite the Right rally, where a group of white nationalists and rightists, a whole different assortment.
The picture we have here is they have the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, which
with a Nazi flag.
Yeah, with a Nazi flag and the Confederate flag,
which makes no sense in and of itself.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's a fact that sure, maybe this wasn't most of the people at the rally. They were there. They had a presence, a significant presence.
Well, so okay, let me widen out the ending a little bit. So the KKK, they're stopped in the end, and just for the context of what I'm about to talk about, there was this one police officer throughout the film who was portrayed as a bad cop. He was extremely racist and did a lot of pretty
targeted black people.
Yeah, pretty terrible
target
shit.
Corey Hawkins' character and Laura Harrier's character.
Yeah,
when they were trying to get back to his hotel.
And pretty much, yeah. And so then at the end or whatever, there's this scene where they basically trick him into admitting that he's unjustly targeting black people, and then they get
I like that scene.
They get him arrested, and then afterwards they show they're discontinuing the KKK investigation or whatever. Ron Stallworth was never found out or whatever by the KKK, but they and so at the end or whatever, he's talking to the black Ron Stallworth. The real Ron Stallworth is talking to David Duke over the phone, and he just basically shuts him down and admits that he's black or whatever.
Yeah, that was pretty funny too.
But I think and then at the end, when they're in their apartment or whatever, they in a pretty I don't know if you seen any blaxploitation stuff before?
No.
Shaft.
What exactly does that mean?
The scene or whatever at the end when they both have the guns and they're coming down the hallway and it looks like they're just floating down or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's
I didn't really get that. So is that a reference to something else?
That's pretty characteristic of blaxploitation style or whatever.
Okay.
And they were talking about it earlier or whatever. In the film they talked about it a little bit. And so that's I just thought that was really kind of cool and stylish. But they're coming down the hallway and they see a bunch of KKK members burning a cross outside, and then it immediately cuts to this montage of stuff going on in Charlottesville with the Unite the Right rally, and showing people chant things like Jews will not replace us, stuff like that.
Really offensive stuff.
And then showing this woman that was killed there because someone during the protests, the counter protest or something, someone ran their car through a group of protesters and actually killed someone.
Yeah.
And that pretty much ends. That's pretty much how the movie ends, is showing pretty much the way I interpret it was you get your nice wish fulfillment with the bad cop getting arrested, David Duke getting shut down, and then Spike Lee ends on kind of what you might consider a low note,
definitely
not a happy ending, to try to show, I think, that there might be.
It was an eerie ending. I remember being oh, that's not right after that great scene where they just finish off everybody else, all the antagonists of the movies. Yeah, it's just that eerie thing. They're oh, hey, we're still around, by the way.
Yeah,
the KKK.
It's lingering. It makes you feel there might be small victories or whatever, but the problem, I mean, it's not solved in
Definitely
any sense.
not.
It kind of brings that to the forefront. The first time I saw this, I was in the theater. As soon as that ended, I was my mind was.
I wish we should. Oh man, I wish we had that mind-blowing clip from the Tim and Eric show. Or something. All right, that's enough of that noise.
But it was it kind of like hit me like a train. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think so. Yeah, my interpretation of that ending too is that like, so the police had their small victories, the Colorado Spring police, but that's just some battles. They haven't won the war, and
Yeah,
I think that was
exactly.
clear. But by the KKK still being outside Ron Stallworth's apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, as Spike Lee shows, today they're still around today.
Mm-hmm.
So like the fight against this kind of intolerance and stuff is never really over.
It's not. At least it's not over yet. Like don't
right.
celebrate yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like there's always like we always need to be on the lookout and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So what are some other aspects of this film? I mean, it's a lot to unpack. We've been
Well, for one, for the extremely serious ending, I thought there were a few pretty funny parts. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's got its moments.
It's got, and this is kind of what I was talking about the other day, how sometimes the best comedy isn't in the context of comedy.
Right,
We were
exactly.
talking about this earlier. But,
Yeah, outside of the post-credit studio.
Yeah.
We were having a movie discussion. But yeah,
Yeah.
like so some examples would probably be John David Washington, I think, had pretty good comedic timing.
Yeah.
in his
Especially
portrayal.
when he's on the phone with David Duke,
Yeah,
like acting like a white supremacist or
Yeah.
racist or something.
because did we properly explain that? So like, I don't think we did. I'm just gonna go over it one more
yeah,
time.
Go ahead.
So, Adam Driver is a fellow undercover cop with John David Washington's character. Adam Driver's character name is Flip Zimmerman. So Flip Zimmerman and Ron Stallworth are together in this investigation, and then when Ron Stallworth starts to infiltrate the KKK, he does it as a black man, and everyone in the undercover thing is like, well, how are you going to get in there?
Yeah.
Like, there's a little bit of you'd be a little at odds there.
Yeah. What does the police chief say? Well, you shouldn't go to that meeting.
Yeah. And then so Flip Zimmerman decides to play the part of Ron Stallworth in person. So he's Ron, and then John David Washington is Ron
Over the phone.
on the phone. So anytime, and that's how he establishes his relationship with David Duke too, because David Duke obviously is not in Colorado. He's like on somewhere else.
New Orleans, I think.
Yeah, wherever the national HQ was. And so it's just two different people, and like, of course, what they say doesn't always line up, so that gets people to question them and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's pretty, there's certain parts of it that are super intense of this film, especially with, what is his name? The one character, one of the KKK guys. Not the fat one. Scroll down.
This is,
See full cast.
I don't know if like, I'm pretty sure it's this guy. Michael Buscemi. Oh wait,
That's not.
that looks like a relation to Steve Buscemi.
I
Sorry,
think
we're looking at
it's
something
Michael
else.
Buscemi. It's got to be.
But he literally looks like him too. I don't see him.
Felix. Yeah, okay. Felix Kendrickson. This dude is super intense. Nice profile pic.
Yeah, what's that? Mad Max or something?
And there's like certain scenes in this that are like serious like shockers. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the scene where they're in their Felix and his wife, Connie, they're in their bed or together or whatever, and they're just literally like having this casual like conversation about how she's so happy that he gave meaning to her life because they're going to kill black people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just done super nonchalantly. And I thought it was good the way that it was done, because like kind of tying back to the way that like they're portraying the KKK, they want to make it seem like this is normal, like another day at the office for these people, you know? It's not like some super evil thing. Like it is their life, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it almost makes it worse, you know? Just how like normal it is for them.
And when Flip Zimmerman first goes to his first official Colorado Springs KKK meeting, he enters the house of this character, Felix's house, and his wife greets him in like the most polite way possible, like, "Oh, hi, Felix, so nice to meet you. Do you need something to drink or eat?" And then like later, like not even like within minutes, she like walks into the group and starts talking about like how she hates black people and stuff. It's
And like this very
switch.
like cheery way too. It's almost eerie, man, the way that she does it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's bad. it was portrayed really well because I feel like
yeah.
that's kind of like how people are realistically.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna find people who are just evil for the sake of being evil. You know.
Yeah.
They're
It's not like they're sitting around plotting master plans like with the intention of being evil. Like
it's more
it's
about
like
just
an
like
ideological like
normalization.
Yeah, like it's embedded in their
of
minds.
these like terrible bigoted ideas.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
I thought that this movie was done super well, super stylish. Ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What do you think, Nate?
I will give BlacKkKlansman an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yes.
This was one of my 9 out of 10s from
Wow.
over the summer.
Yet another one.
I think
you're giving them out like candy, Caleb.
Yeah, just a few of them.
It's been a good year for movies, though, so far.
It's been a very good year for movies, I think.
But you want to elaborate on your rating, or?
Well, I'd say that the second time, it's one of those movies where, because I knew the ending, the first time that you see it, it kind of like really punches you or whatever, and that was part of my rating, I think, was just how much it kind of like just kind of shocked me and surprised me. And I mean, I didn't exactly know what to expect. So it really kind of, I think a good movie kind of hits you on an emotional level. And this movie certainly hit me on emotional levels.
Yeah,
you know what I
same.
mean? So I thought, along with Hereditary and Annihilation, it warranted a 9 out of 10 for me.
Coolio. All right, so that is BlacKkKlansman, directed by Spike Lee, starring John David Washington, son of Denzel, and Adam Driver, and Laura Harrier, too. And you said, like, some of the cast was unfamiliar. I would say Laura Harrier is starting to become sort of a bigger name. Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming was hugely successful, and then now this, too, is likely going to get some Oscar praise, I would imagine.
So
definitely. She's on her way up. But we're going to take our first music break here, and we decided on this song because there's an advertisement, but never mind. We decided on this song because this is our last episode before September ends.
October's right around the corner.
So that gives you a clue on what this next song is. All right, that was Wake Me Up When September Ends by Green Day, a classic early 2000s hit. And Caleb brought up a good point. That's a pretty sad song that doesn't really fit in with the tone
a little weird
of this episode, but
whatever.
We did it for the joke.
It's Oktoberfest, so whatever.
So anything goes. All right, so we just got finished discussing BlacKkKlansman, and now we are moving on to Incredibles 2, a summer movie. It was released June of this past summer that we did not get to in last week's episode when we kind of crash coursed all the summer movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, Incredibles 2, if you are unfamiliar, it's the latest Disney Pixar flick directed by Brad Bird, starring Craig T. Nelson and Holly Hunter. Those are probably like the two biggest names. And then, Samuel Jackson too is Frozone.
Yeah.
And then some of the new voice casts that weren't part of the first ones, like Bob Odenkirk from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and Catherine Keener, I think that's how you pronounce her.
Keener.
She's in Get Out. She's the mom.
She's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and 40-Year-Old Virgin.
And 40-Year-Old Virgin, yeah.
So she's got a lot under her belt. But yeah, so it's you're probably familiar with the Incredibles movies. You're really popular, the superhero family.
Yep.
And the first one, I'm gonna just go over the first one real quick. I watched it again. It was like one of my favorite childhood movies. I'd probably seen it so many times. And so I watched it again before I saw number 2, and it holds up. It is a great movie. Total 9 out of 10 for me. I don't know about you.
I definitely need to. I haven't seen that movie, the first one, in forever, dude. Years. I really should have watched it again before before I watched the second one, but I mean, I kind of remembered basic things, but
It's great. It's got
from what I remember, it was. Yeah, I used to probably watch it at least once a week when I was a kid. You know what I mean? It was one of those movies.
It's a movie too. It's a kids movie that doesn't insult like the kids' intelligence. Because there's some things that definitely went over my head, like the whole like how Bob works at an insurance company and what that kind of means. Like that, that totally went over my head as a kid. But it didn't stop me from loving the movie. And it's something you can appreciate once you're older, like how that kind of parallels to his whole life situation, being a superhero and not being able to do his magic.
Right.
So, for sure.
I remember the scene where he punches his boss, right?
Yeah, he punches him through the wall.
I remember that
Wallace
scene
Shawn.
well.
He always has a voice act. He always has a role in these Pixar movies. And I saw an Onion. This is off topic, but I saw an Onion headline. They're looking for a new James Bond, I guess. Daniel Craig is done. And it was like, Wallace Shawn announced as frontrunner for new James Bond. I found it really funny for some reason. I love The Onion. Anyway, so Incredibles 2, 14 years later after the 9 out of 10 that was the first Incredibles.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think, Caleb?
I thought this was a pretty good follow-up. I mean, I was kind of skeptical at first, a sequel to Incredibles. I mean, it's a classic, let's be honest. The first one, it's a classic. So I'm always a bit skeptical of, especially since it comes 14 years later.
Yeah.
It almost it could, with a lot of films, that they have a sequel like more than a decade later, or like it just ends up feeling like a reboot or like completely unnecessary. And that's what I was kind of worried about with this one. But I honestly thought that they did a pretty good job. I mean, a great job, actually. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like it hasn't lost any of its charm. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not as good as the first one, I wouldn't say, just because of its classic status. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I would say, I mean, I really enjoyed the movie, but I'd say it probably went to a level of 75% of the enjoyment that I had from the first one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it wasn't. Like I said, it's not 100% up there with the first one.
I think like
it's kind of hard to follow a movie like the first Incredibles.
Yeah, I think the villain in Incredibles 2, Evelyn Dever, is ultimately their villain. And what's like the name of the? See, this movie's not very fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I saw it in June.
Let's see if it says it here on. It doesn't really say, but there's like the her secret
screen
identity.
Saver.
Yeah,
Screenslaver.
So the villain is definitely weaker in this movie, I would say, than than Syndrome was.
Yeah, but yeah, that's for sure. But I thought that they still did a pretty good job of like actually introducing some conflict with this family. I think part of the allure of The Incredibles wasn't that it was just like basic superhero action movie where it's a bunch of superheroes that have to fight a bad guy and that's it.
Yeah, and that
like,
wasn't the first one at all either.
There's like that's what I'm saying. It's a family of superhero.
Yeah,
and there's like obvious conflict that comes with it, and I think that they kind of, I don't know. It almost seems like they eclipsed the efficacy of the villain maybe a little bit, so that they could focus more on that. Because I think that when you have like a sequel that's 14 years coming, you kind of need. I think you need a little bit extra character development. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And I thought that seemed like for most of the movie that was like the main focus of it, and then with the plot with the Screenslaver really tied into that really well because it kind of brought up the family like dynamic and the family issues that comes with being a family of superheroes, you know. So I thought that so maybe the villain wasn't as good in general, Syndrome, but I thought that
you understand why, and I guess I understand too why they kind of put it in the background.
Yeah, and I think that the way that they prioritized it was good. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
And so some of like I too kind of like how this movie, it's always good when a sequel kind of like expands the lore and universe.
Yeah.
And they did that with Well, I guess they did that in the first one too, pretty well too. The first one's just so good. The how they, had all the past superheroes in their bios and how they perished or whatever. That was a really well done scene. But they have some new heroes that are kind of emerging from the shadows, because just because you outlaw heroes doesn't mean they're not going to be around.
Right.
People are still going to have powers. So I liked how they were integrated, and they were ultimately, instead of just killing off the heroes, which was Syndrome, she used them against the heroes. So it was almost like, okay, the whole like driving force of her plan was, we're going to legalize heroes again. But this time, once we legalize them, we're going to really be pulling the strings. So that way the public won't like them again.
Right.
So we can ensure that the public is going to be anti-hero forever. Because that was the point of
controlling
the
their minds to be evil or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, as always, like the action was pretty dang good.
Animation is really good.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I was surprised by the first one, but the second one obviously is going to have superior animation. I mean,
it's
been
14 years later, yeah.
But even the first one was really impressive. But yeah, I really like. It's funny to see Mr. Incredible, his development from kind of like man of the house first one, but kind of sneaking around the back to try to like take care of everything all at once.
Right.
That was pretty funny, and he obviously struggled with that. But I think, okay, so I feel like Jack was definitely the show stealer. I don't know about your showing, but it got almost obnoxious to a point. People would not stop laughing at Jack.
Well, my theater wasn't very full when I saw it, but there was
packed.
a group of like 6 kids or whatever. But especially certain scenes like when he's with the raccoon or whatever.
Yeah, that was good. That was funny though. That was good action.
Yeah. And I think that's a pretty good way of trying to develop the action of Jack, because it's not like they're just throwing him into a battle and he like instantly it's just invincible, which I guess they do kind of do near the end
of the first or the second one.
Of the second one, but I mean they at that point they had already, what's her name, Edna? Mm-hmm. She had already kind of trained him, so to speak. But I thought that was funny with Edna.
Mm-hmm. I was like, she just takes him for a so
it didn't feel like fan service either, the way that they did it. I don't think
bringing Edna back.
Yeah,
'cause she was definitely a fan favorite with the first one. No, her job was to basically, keep Mr. Incredible in check, because Mr. Incredible, I think it's like 2 weeks or maybe a week that Miss Elastigirl starts her new job.
Yeah.
So then she doesn't like. He can't even go like a week, and he's got all these problems. And like Edna, in like one day, just like fixes almost everything about Jack. That was a pretty funny parallel. But yeah, how would you gauge this as compared to other Pixar movies? I mean, besides the first, like where does it? Because there's a pretty high bar with Pixar.
I'm gonna need to see a list of Pixar movies. Honestly,
well,
I
here
think
you go. More like this.
Because, I mean, Pixar is pretty prolific. Of all the animation studios, they probably got just the best ones, just kind of indisputably. Cars, not as good as Cars.
I don't mind. Actually, I'm in the camp of Cars is good. I know
I'm in the camp of Cars is all right. It's okay. It's not bad.
I would say it's good, but we'll debate about that later. Anyway. But yeah, so here's kind of the list of all the Incredibles, or Pixar actually.
Coco. I didn't realize that was Pixar.
Yeah,
for some reason.
They've had some good. I mean, let's see. The most of their missteps, because they were on fire at first. I mean, back to back to back.
Toy Story, Bugs Life,
Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and then Cars was probably like their first step down from that. But
Ratatouille's great though.
Ratatouille's great. I mean, WALL-E. What do you think about WALL-E?
I actually never saw WALL-E, to be honest.
It's kind of a snooze. I mean, it's got good like messages, but as a kid, like here's like a difference between like WALL-E and The Incredibles. They both are kind of kids movies with adult themes, but The Incredibles does a good job of keeping the kids
interested.
Right. WALL-E doesn't do that good of a job doing that. Up is fantastic.
Up is great.
So I'd say they're like. Really, I've never seen Brave either.
I haven't seen that. I didn't see Monsters Universe. I actually haven't seen Inside Out either, and I know that I should.
Oh, you got to see that.
I know that I should see Inside Out, but I don't know, for some reason that kind of flew by my radar.
But I would say that Incredibles 2 probably joins like that top half
Yeah,
of Pixar movies.
for sure.
I would say Coco's in that too. That's another recent one. I wasn't a huge Finding Dory fan. Honestly.
Oh, I didn't see that one either. I haven't been up to date on the recent.
Hey man, why aren't you keeping up on your kids' movies, Caleb? Yeah, no.
Yeah, but I would say it's up there with the first Incredibles, probably up there with Toy Story, Monsters Inc. Yeah, and Coco. Coco is probably that movie's just awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think Ratatouille's up there too.
I agree. I think some people hate on Ratatouille, and
It's a great story. I mean,
is.
sorry, it's not like as cool as like Buzz Lightyear and Woody on their hijinks.
Yeah.
But, you know, it makes me hungry too. Never watch movie advice from the professionals. Never watch Ratatouille while hungry.
always have a big plate of spaghetti right
Spaghetti.
before
Yeah.
something good. Yeah.
That reminds me of this meme I saw last night, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'll tell you later. Anyway, but yeah, so Incredibles 2. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out.
Go see it.
Kids will love it. Adults might like it.
You'll
Probably like it.
If you're cultured, you'll love it.
Yeah.
You know, I think. Well, I don't know. Cultured, maybe not the right word, but I think if you
Incredibles 2 is the epitome of culture.
it's culture. I think if you have good taste, or if you are a kid who grew up watching any movies at all, you probably ended up watching The Incredibles, and I think you'll like Incredibles too. Yeah. Rating?
Yeah, let's do it. Could you start with your
I
rating?
will. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. What do you think?
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which
7?
I guess I'll explain myself. Just like you said, like you did a pretty good job defending like how villain isn't really the top priority or antagonist of these movies, which I understand that. But again, it didn't really change the fact that this movie just like it's a good sequel, but it doesn't really live up.
Yeah.
I mean, it lives up to the first one, but it doesn't really get onto that same level.
Yeah,
as
I
the
thought
first one.
that just because I thought of this, I thought that the whole, the one guy isn't actually Screenslaver was like so predictable, and that
Very predictable.
What is her name? Kathleen or
Catherine Keener's character's
Yeah.
name is literally Evelyn Dever, which means evil, evil endeavor. It's a play on words.
yeah.
So
But yeah, it was kind of predictable that she was the bad guy. I kind of saw it coming from a mile away, but I don't know. I thought that the rest of the narrative of the film and the fact that all the other aspects that go with it had some pretty great action, I thought too. But I thought it warranted an 8 out of 10 for me because I really loved it.
well, there you have it. Incredibles 2. So, should we have some time left on the show. Do we want to do these trailer reactions?
Yeah, for sure.
Just do a little, I wish we could, well, I guess we could do it on my phone so we can kind of play the audio of the trailers along with us watching it.
And one of them, so we're going to talk about Captain Marvel and the new Dark Phoenix trailer. I haven't actually seen the Dark Phoenix trailer yet, so you're going to get a fresh take.
Fresh live take.
Take from Caleb.
Yeah, on Caleb, what he thinks. And so, all right, so this is the Captain Marvel trailer. Blockbuster video is on the screen. This movie takes place in the 90s.
War is a
Score is
universal
pretty
language.
interesting.
Yeah.
I know a renegade soldier when I see one. Never occurred to me that one might come from above. Space
Classic
invasion,
Marvel disguise. Captain.
big car chase. Truth be told, I was ready to hang it up till I met you today. So you're not from around here?
It's hard to explain.
I'm sure it is.
I keep having these memories. I see flashes. I think I had a life here. But I can't tell if it's real.
We have no idea what threats are out there.
I love that part.
We can't do this.
She
alone.
punches an old woman.
We need you.
I'm not what you think I am.
Well,
So
suffice it to say, it's piqued my interest.
definitely, it did its job. So that's what a trailer is supposed to do.
And I want to say this, the score on that trailer is freaking amazing. It really gives you the chills, I think.
I think that plays into the thing I like. I mean, I'm a big Marvel fan, but they listen to criticism, and one of their big criticisms about their movies has been like boring by the book scores, and it seems that this movie and Infinity War, they're
really
like,
trying to
moving
step
away
it
from
up.
that. But I don't understand the backlash against this trailer. It's got 70,000 dislikes,
Is it
but it
really?
has 1 million likes, so that's a pretty good ratio.
But I think that what are people even saying that who don't like it, or like what is their main
I don't
criticism?
know. They're getting all political with it, like, oh, they're forcing a female character down our throats and
Which,
stuff.
come on, if you
Really?
if you know anything about the Marvel comics, Captain Marvel, it's a female character. Like, what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
But yeah, I think that's a good trailer that just heightens your interest, and it shows some like flashes of like, hey, we're listening to the criticisms,
yeah,
not the critiquers. That's
the
not a word.
critiques, the critiqueries.
But yeah, and what was I gonna say? Oh, so when she punches an old lady in the character, I didn't like it just because she punched an old lady. A big plot point is gonna be that they're shapeshifters, so you don't really know who the enemies are, but
Okay.
maybe Captain Marvel can see the shapeshifters and see beyond their disguise.
See, and I
so
didn't.
that
I
you didn't
know
realize that either.
I didn't know that. So I was when I first saw it, I was like,
What? She just punched an old lady. No, yeah, that's likely a villain in disguise,
Yeah.
and of course they want to portray themselves as like a harmless, innocent person.
Yeah, and I'm wondering. There were dark elves in that, right? One of the
No, those are the Skrulls. Those aren't
Skrulls.
dark elves.
Oh, okay. I thought they looked like
Different.
dark elves.
I've never actually seen the movie with the dark elves. I think that's Thor 2.
Is that the Dark World or is that?
Yeah, the Dark World.
Dark
All right.
World.
So there's one Marvel trailer that we thought was pretty good, piqued our interest pretty well. And let's watch. I've already seen this trailer, but you have not. So the live take on the Dark Phoenix trailer, which is a Marvel Fox property. So,
X-Men.
X-Men. Yep. So we'll be watching that.
You think you can fix me?
Hold on, I'm gonna restart it here. Had a little mix up with the aux cord. All right, here we go.
Jean.
Wrong trailer. There
There
we
some
go.
technical difficulty.
You think you can fix me?
Jean.
You are not broken.
Music.
Wait, Logan used music?
The mind is a fragile thing. Takes only the slightest tap to tip it in the wrong direction.
Charles, what did you do?
Beast hasn't aged
I
at
had to
all.
keep her stable. I protected her.
From the truth? There's another word for that.
Lying.
I came looking for answers.
I hate
I
that
feel
noise.
like you don't belong here. You don't.
Chastain.
They
Yes.
can't begin to comprehend what you are.
She's changing.
And what?
You didn't come here looking for answers. You came here looking for permission.
Jean.
She's all rage, pain, and it's all coming out at once.
Jean lost control, but she's still our friend.
This is your fault, Charles.
The world is on the brink. I'm sorry. I didn't stop it sooner. You're always sorry, Charles. And there's always a speech. And nobody cares. There's still hope. Don't do this.
They're right to fear me.
I've seen evil. And I'm looking at it now.
Coming out on Valentine's Day. So what do you think, Caleb? That was your first time.
I think there wasn't enough Quicksilver in there. That's what I think.
The last redeeming quality, in my opinion,
Yeah.
of the X-Men movies.
I don't know. I mean, it didn't look terrible, I guess, but it kind of didn't really leave any kind of impression on me personally. It just kind of makes you wonder, like, what could they possibly throw? What more could they do with the whole, Professor X versus Magneto, or X-Men
It's
versus
like
his group?
How many?
Like, I understand that that's like integral to the whole X-Men universe, but you can only make so many movies where that's like the basis of your, film.
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just confused because it seems like they're, like, I thought like it was almost like a split personality thing, like the Dark Phoenix and Jean Grey, they're split.
That's what.
But it seems like that's not what they're going for in this trailer.
Like, that's her. Or
Like,
whatever.
it's just all her, and she's just really PO'd for some reason right now.
For some unknown reason, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, well, that's
So
what it is.
That's not as cool, I don't think.
That's what it is in the comics, is that when she becomes Dark Phoenix, she gets taken over by that persona, and then she kind of goes berserker, and she just can't really control it. Jean Grey can't control it. So I'm not...
But maybe this triggers that, so it's, it's just a trailer. But
And I guess in Days of Future Past, whatever you may think of that movie, she does go full Phoenix, though, right? When she has to kill Apocalypse. Or not Days of Future Past, I meant Apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she does at the end.
So
But is that the Dark Phoenix?
I don't think so. I think, no. I don't know, that's...
So not as good as capturing your interest as the Captain Marvel, or
and it doesn't help. It doesn't help that the X-Men universe is just not as good as the Marvel universe, and so the Marvel universe is still like growing, expanding.
Mm-hmm.
So a new character being introduced is like kind of a big thing, and while it's not inherently going to pique my interest if the trailer isn't good, I don't think. But, yeah, I don't know. I can't say I'm super excited for it. When does it come out?
Valentine's Day next spring.
So I don't know.
We'll see.
I'll probably see it, I guess. But
I guess I'm just excited for everything to come back to Marvel.
Yeah.
Marvel Studios.
Be nice. Yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. Kind of seems like a big old nothing right now.
Yep. But, for a second I was like, we were still looking at the Pixar page, and Randy Newman's the composer for the Toy Story movies. I thought we were on the X-Men page. I was like, what? Randy Newman is composing the new X-Men movie? I don't know what he'd make. Like, You've Got a Friend in Me, You've Got a Mutant in Me, or something. I don't know.
All the X-Men get together after they've defeated Magneto.
Yeah.
You got a friend in me.
All right, this is going off the rails.
Whatever.
So yeah, that's pretty much all we've got to talk about today. Mm-hmm. Give you a little sneak peek of what we're going to discuss next week. At the U tonight, they are playing "Sorry to Bother You"
by Boots
Riley.
Boots Riley.
I think that's his name.
Yeah, Boots Riley.
So if you want to support the theater at the U, come on down and check out the movie. Caleb and I will be there. And also, we are going to kind of switch it up next week. We know this is a show where we love to talk about movies, but Caleb and I are also watching the new Netflix limited series Maniac, starring Emma Stone and Jonah Hill. Mm-hmm. We're about halfway through that series, so we'll probably finish that up by next week's episode, and we're going to talk about that too. Like, basically one long movie. That's what it seems like so far.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So join us next week, everybody listening, at the same time for the next installment of Post Credits. Thanks for listening. We will see you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.
Cut me off. Thanks for listening. Make sure to tune in next week on Friday at 1 p.m. Central.
RAQ Radio.
Movies! 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 Movies, movies! Post credits! With Caleb and Dave. We talk movies! And movie stuff! Movies! 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 TV shows? Maybe! Yeah! Movies!